Okay, so the adaptation's already started. It's already condensing and cutting out a lot of twists and reveals within each chapter adaptations of The Promised Neverland. And it's like it's now skipping a lot of chapters, or skipping some chapters and cutting out information, like twists and plot devices that were key points in the story within the manga, and they're either going to be saving it later on, but I doubt it because of the fact that certain elements have now been introduced that didn't happen until later on. Without further ado, I'll talk more about this, about episode 2 of The Promised Neverland, once we cut to the intro, and we'll continue on from there. Promised Neverland season 2, not season 2, episode 2. Started off strong, started off adapting chapter 2 very faithfully, up till them finding Naylor. Chapter 2 was adapted for the first part of the episode to Naylor, with some changes here and there, scenes added, transition scenes added, just to pan out and everything. Some different camera angles as well that are different within the anime episode, but the same lines have been used within the anime adaptation from the manga as well. And everything. The whole announcement of Norman mentioning being fast and everything, wasn't it? And then it cuts to, but then some things have been left out. When I was watching the episode, some of the little hidden flashback scenes weren't adapted, because I think there was a lot of material in chapter 2 of Promised Neverland that could have been a lot adapted, and they could have fleshed it out. They could have done the first 12 chapters as their own episodes, because there's a lot of fleshing out we could have done with each chapter on their own. But they cut a lot of things out, and it's now starting to fill that. The Promised Neverland as a manga has a lot of twists and reveals that were shock value within this first arc, within the escape plan arc, that was really necessary to be revealed at these certain points. And cutting these reveals out of the main story now is making the anime adaptation now of The Promised Neverland felt rushed. And I'm going to be still following it, because as you know, I'm a Promised Neverland fanboy, and I will be following it, and I will be continuing doing these chapter comparisons as closely as possible, even if I have to go to a different route into looking up the chapters while watching the episodes and following it via a different route. So I only got this is the only volume I've got. Then I will do, but I will still do my manga and episode comparisons. And this one is going to be slightly longer than last week's because of how much of the changes had. So like I said, we got to the Nala episode part of the chapter, and Norman and that was starting to do their speak and things, but I think there was no mention about the declaration of war part of and all the narration bubbles and stuff like that, everything. And then it starts off with chapter 2, but then again it continues on where some scenes were yet again not included. But they did continue with the whole discussion of what was going on. They included that about what's going on. They talked about the order of the shipping and stuff like that. So they reorganised a lot of the panels differently into everything, and they talked about the order, how some of them left, and how the other siblings left, and everything like that. That they're wondering how everything worked, and and stuff like that, and mentioned about how the human brain works, and everything. So it continues like that, and then it ends with, in chapter 3, it gets to the point of chapter 3 where Mama finds Emma, looks at her with very eyes here, so very stern as well. Gets to that scene, and the conversation with all that about how she doesn't look well and everything takes place. Norman's still hiding, shocked about everything, and then Emma starts putting on the facade, but then I don't even remember seeing this scene in the episode. I could be wrong, but I do not remember this scene at all in the episode. Because it cuts straight to the whole Ray going to saying dinner's ready, and everything, and they all continue going on, and then it does go to the panels with Mama or Isabella just talking about if Emma and Norman went to the gate last episode. So then they said no, never did, and stuff like that. But then, after that, this whole page being cut out, and I'm not kidding, I do vaguely remember that this whole scene did not get adapted at all the way to also include the reveal of the neck. I will have to go back to the episode to double check that, but I doubt it even had that reveal, because after that, the rest of chapter 4 happened with them going to the wall again and everything. So that whole reveal was completely cut out with that as well. That completely got cut out because it went straight to them going to the room, getting the bed sheets and to make ropes to get over that wall and to escape, and then it just continues on to the whole conversation with Ray and Norman, and how Norman cares for cares for Emma and stuff like that, and then the rest of chapter 4 did not get adapted. So once they'd done that conversation, they literally cut out the whole book notification, the whole Isabel tracking pocket watch, and majority of 5 gets completely skipped over by when they were cleaning the bedrooms and everything like that with Don and Gilda, and the whole mention of how chess scenes are happening and everything. The whole introduction of their new sim that replaced Connie, and Carone shows up. So majority of it, right? So all this, that scene I mentioned, majority of chapter 4 and majority of chapter 5 got cut out, and they went straight into introducing Carone, the sister Carone, and everything like that. So it literally did. They literally did cut out a lot of stuff in episode 2. Was it stuff that was important? I think so. There's a lot of story that just got cut out of chapter 2, and definitely for the first arc, it was needed. The first arc was needed, and it's really a shame that some of the stuff's been cut out, because they condensed 3 chapters into 3 chapters and a part of the 5th into 1 episode, and there's a lot of stuff. So people saying that the anime was better, I can now officially clarify by me that the anime has already failed in adapting The Promised Neverland. Yes, there's going to be some anime fans, I think, mention that the changes made were necessary to the story, and I will say this: no, it wasn't. There's material in here that got cut for them to, because yes, The Promised Neverland is a 12-episode series, but the material in The Promised Neverland they could have easily just adapted 2 chapters an episode, and they could have included every bit of detail within the manga within the episode. So episode 2 of The Promised Neverland was a slightly more disappointment, as it's already shown that they're starting to condense and rush the anime adaptation on the first season as much as they can, because I think they want to get out the Gracefield. So they're trying to, because I think a lot of people did not like the Gracefield house arc / the escape arc because of how slow it was. It was because of how slow, how dragged out it was. So I will accept that. I'm glad they're condensing the chapters as much as possible to rush the whole orphanage arc, so they can get straight into the decent stuff. I think it was past the orphanage stuff once they're in the actual outside world and doing the much more protecting of the siblings and making sure everything's and making sure that the Emma's protecting her siblings and her loved one as best as she can. But at the same time, it's also, I feel like the anime could have been better if they adapted it as accurately as possible. And so far, for an anime adaptation, and that is meant to promote the manga, because as so far I know there's no actual merchandise. Normally merchandise starts happening when an anime is made. So far there's no actual official merchandise of The Promised Neverland when the manga started. So there will be merchandise later on, I bet you, like statues and everything for the characters of The Promised Neverland and some of the demons and that. But as far as I know, there is no actual merchandising yet, apart from the manga and it being published in the Weekly Shonen Jump. So the anime is doing its thing of promoting the source material, what is the Promised Neverland manga, and everything. But I feel like episode 2 was a slightly more disappointing episode. Stuff being cut out, stuff being rushed, and everything. And it just feels like I've almost finished going through this book because of how condensed and rushed it is. Because I had to I literally done flick throughs trying to find out whereabouts the anime is now because of how much content it's left. Because as soon as they done the home thing before the big twist on Mama's neck, also having that number code thing, revealing questions, and it's in here but wasn't in the anime adaptation, because that was a big reveal twist and a shock twist that should have been kept in, and the fact that they didn't and they're gonna probably use it for a later date, it's not in some ways could work, but at the same time being revealed at that point of the story within the manga made sense. It probably wouldn't. They probably make it work some way later on, but it doesn't make sense at this point in time. Them not including it because it was a big shocker reveal to find out that Isabella was once a girl in as food process. Because there's a lot of backstory behind Isabel and Crone, and that will probably get revealed later on. And I have a strong feeling it's going to be rushed. A lot of the backstory between Gilda and Crone and Isabel was some of the best stuff in the first arc that I'm now worried that it's just going to get condensed and rushed, or not even be adapted or get looked over because it's not getting, because they're trying to get the first arc condensed in 12 episodes, and I think that's the bad idea. Promised Neverland, I think, should have gotten greenlit as a 24 or 25 episode season from the get-go and be a two-core anime, and not being a 12 episode thing. Because sometimes when an anime gets 12 episodes, sometimes it might get a Boku no Hero treatment where they're testing the waters, like My Hero Academia, and they do 12 episodes, but then it gets the next season that bumps up its episode count to 25. That I'm hoping is happening, because then they can actually adapt the manga a bit more accurately if it has a bit more episodes. Because I knew in Shogeki no Soma that when it went down to 12 episodes for season 2, they were condensing and I think rushing some of the material that they were adapting and cutting bits out. The Promised Neverland is doing that exact. Clover Works is doing the exact same thing for the first major arc for the Promised Neverland. That is, and cutting some major information that should have been kept, and the fact that it hasn't means I don't know how I'm gonna feel at the end of this after the 12th episode run. Because I feel like people are thinking the anime is going to be better. I've already disheartened the anime as being less faithful now than anything. Cutting stuff out, cutting reveals out that should be in there at the points where they should be if they were adapting these chapters up correctly, should be there. But they haven't. They literally haven't. They've literally done nothing. They've condensed stuff, they've rushed stuff, they've already introduced Corone too early, I think, as well. It's the second episode in and they're introducing Corone, what should have been next episode, or, yes, the start of chapter 5, they could have finished adapting chapter 4, or finished adapting chapter 3 and 2, and adapted the second episode being the first, second, and third chapters. There was enough material in chapter 2 and chapter 3 to be episode 2, and then episode 4 and 5 could have been adapted, and the reveal of Corone could have been halfway through, and it would have made perfect sense, and it would have worked. But no, they condensed stuff. They tried to fit in several chapters in the second episode. The thing I liked about episode 1 was chapter 1 was was the opening chapter, so it had so much content in it, where it was a faithful adaptation for the first chapter. And then we go into episode 2, where it's condensed chapters 2, 3, 4, and parts of 5, because they didn't even finish adapting chapter 4 of The Promised Neverlands, to just try and incorporate Corone in from the get-go, and it's just rushing it, the storylines. The Promised Neverlands the first arc has a deep story behind it, and I think it's just been bad. It's just already been getting bad. It's not as great as it should be. It needs to be better than what it needs to be, and and everything like that. So am I going to? Yes, I'm still going to see how much. I'm not calling it a train wreck yet, because if they condense the next few chapters again into the second episode and rushing it again, then I will be calling it a train wreck. The Promised Neverlands is an interesting manga to me, and some of the stuff and material that's being used in some of the current arcs and the current storylines have been great. This is a great series to me, and I am disappointed in the anime adaptation. Last week's episode was a great opener, adapted it faithfully to the chapter 1 of the manga, faithfully as accurate as possible, including little transition scenes that fitted the narrative very well. Episode 2, not so much, and now I'm repeating myself, but it hasn't adapted it as well. It's now rushing and cutting content out. So, the manga's better, and I'm saying it now. The manga is better. I'll say this, if you want to know the missing details, read chapter 2, 3, 4 fully to get all the missing information, missing details that's been cut out in episode 2, because there's a lot of content missed out in the second episode of The Promised Neverlands, with them rushed adapting the chapters and condensing them into one episode. They could have easily adapted chapters 2 and 3 as an episode, and chapters 4 and 5 as an episode, but they can try to condense chapters 2, 3, 4 and part of 5 within there by cutting some interesting scenes within the anime, because some of the storylines and plot devices and twists and reveals happen early on that make more sense at that point than it does if they're going to plan to use those reveals later on. So it's already not as great an adaptation than I was hoping for, but I'll be still reviewing it. But I've been your host, Kai from Kaizo Take One, and this was my thoughts and chapter breakdown in comparison to episode 2 of The Promised Neverlands, titled 13-10-45. So please comment down below if you liked what you saw. Please see if you were also disappointed within episode 2's chapter adaptations as much as I have down in the comment below, and let's get these discussions going. And please, if you're new to this channel, please hit that subscribe button and then the bell notification so you can keep up to date on all my latest videos that gets uploaded. So yeah, if you're new to this channel, you liked what you saw, so please do that. I'll greatly appreciate it. And don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. So see you next time. Bye bye for now. See ya. Hey guys, alright, I'm up here in the corner now. Down below you could find the last episode's 1 review down there, and followed by the playlist of the Promised Neverlands anime as well, along with the manga reviews as well, my previous reviews of the manga as well on the side here, so you got those. Also down below you can find links to my social medias like Facebook, Patreon, Coffee, Instagram, the lot down in the video description, so you can click those links. It'd be greatly appreciate if I get the support. You don't have to support me if you don't want it, but it'd be greatly appreciated if I get the support as possible. But hopefully you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you for the next one. So yeah, so come on. And don't forget to hit that like button and the subscription button and that bell notification to keep up to date with all my videos. Even though I said that before this scene, but I'm saying it again just to give you a reminder. But anyway, see you now. Bye bye for now.